this is Jake Bowen from Periphery, and you're watching Loud TV. It was very hard. I mean, because we had such a smooth time writing Periphery 4, we thought Periphery 5 would be the same. And when we actually got down to like getting to the meat of the record, it was we started to realize, wow, you know, for all of us in the band, Periphery 4 is probably like that album that we feel most proud of, or at the time we felt most proud of it. And then we were like, well, how are we gonna, like, you know, we can only top it to ourselves. So it's like, how are we gonna make a, you know, such a record? And it was pretty hard. I mean, we had to start over like a couple times on different songs, and we had to really kind of rethink how we write together. And I think it made a better album because of it. But it definitely wasn't the easy process that Periphery 4 was. Periphery 5 was a lot of work and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of traveling too. Obviously, like, the pandemic happened, and that affected everybody in, you know, incalculable ways. And for us, it was kind of like figuring out the logistics of that. Like, how do we write a record when you can't travel, and we all live in different states and stuff. So we figured it out, and I'm really proud of that record. I think it came out exactly how we wanted it to come out, and some of my proudest musical moments are on it. I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear you say that, because we do pay attention to what people say about the band, and you know, I've seen some comments saying like, oh, it's just like Periphery 4, and when I listen to the record, I don't really hear that. You know, Periphery 4 is not as refined as Periphery 5, and maybe because I'm too close to the music, I can tell the difference. But yeah, I think, like, because we had to go back, because we would write whole songs, and some of us would be happy with them, and then others would not, we'd have to, like, go back and kind of pretend like we never heard the original version and rewrite a song that we already were, like, kind of attached to, which, you know, for the musicians out there, I'm sure you know how hard that is, kind of getting out of your own way and, you know, recognizing that, all right, this isn't the best that I can do. And I think as a musician, that's probably, especially when you've been a musician as long as I have and as long as the rest of the guys have, I think that's probably your most valuable asset, is to just be able to be like, you know, to know when something's not good enough. And luckily, we all listen to each other, so if somebody feels like, this isn't the strongest we could be, everyone takes it really, really seriously. And I love that about these guys, because we're not like, you know, we don't rest on the fact that we've written other music that people like. You know, it's all about if we like it, and we can tell, you know, if something's not good enough, and we all listen to each other. As we all get older, we feel like the album is going out of style. You know, everybody's all hung up on singles, and kind of like they're constantly scrolling through their phones, just like hearing song after song for free. Not that I have a problem with it being free, but it's more of like you're just like kind of chewing up all this content and spitting it out. And when I was growing up, it was like you saved up money to buy a CD, and you kind of you sat in a chair, you laid in your bed, and you like had your headphones on, and you just like read through the liner notes, and you looked at all the band photos, and it just, the experience just was way more valuable back then. And, you know, I sound like an old man yelling at a cloud right now, I understand this, but like it really was better. And I'm sad for like the younger generation that doesn't, I'd say the majority, because there are still kids out there and young people who digest albums. I'm not saying they don't exist, but it just seems like the way that the wind is blowing is just everyone just kind of just goes through music so fast. And in my opinion, some of the best music ever is being written now. And it's just kind of, it's disappointing that people are not focusing on albums as much, because, yeah, like when we write an album like Periphery 5, we want you to listen to the whole thing, you know. Obviously, we know what our bangers are and like what songs are kind of like going to be more popular than others, but it's almost like a call and response. Like, you know, when we have a really heavy song, chances are the next song is going to not really sound like the previous one. So as we write the songs, they kind of influence each other, and they're meant to be digested as a whole. So maybe in the future, albums will come back in style, and it'll be something that people love as much as I did when I was a kid. I mean, you do have the vinyl crew. Like, I'm a vinyl collector, and you know, my favorite thing in the world is like putting on just grabbing a random vinyl record out of my box of vinyl, and you know, putting it on and cooking dinner, or just doing things around the house, and you know, it's just a really, really fun experience. So I hope more people get into that.
Someone says rock and roll is dead. Really?
I guess, I don't know. I feel like people like to when musicians like make like these big decrees, like rock and roll is dead, or punk is dead, or you know, pop is dead, whatever. Like, I feel like musicians, they have this tendency, because they have a platform that they can like speak loudly from, that like they think that their opinion has this weight, and really like people will hear it and they'll be like, oh, this person has a platform, and they'll listen to it, but it really doesn't mean anything. It's just like, you know, music is you know, it comes in waves, and like eventually all things die, and that's just the nature of life. So it's just like, I think it's kind of like silly for musicians to be like, rock is dead. It's not like it, you know. I mean, I guess I just got done saying how like I wish people would listen to albums. So in a way, I'm kind of doing the same thing. But don't listen to me. I'm an idiot. Yeah, and that's why I like being in a progressive metal band, or Djent band, or whatever you want to call it, because it's like you can kind of get away with that stuff. And you know, I don't really listen to it. I used to listen to a lot of metal growing up. That's why I'm in a metal band. But I don't really listen to a lot of metal now. I'm like super, super picky about it. But a lot of the electronic music that I listen to influences the riffs that I write and the metal that I write, because it's it just inspires me more. So, you know, when I get the opportunity to work on an electronic song and put it on a metal record, I get really excited about that. And the one thing I wish, and the reason why we're talking about this is because we know that like metal listeners and people who consume metal are just not the most open-minded crowd. And I'm hoping that like as more bands get more experimental and put way more, you know, crazy stuff out there, that helps people kind of get out of their closed little metal box and you know, check out music that is just there's so much good music out there. It's just it's infinite. I'm burning like it's a good question, because like I was so focused on just like trying to write songs with the guys that I really like didn't have a chance to kind of look at what my weaknesses were and what I wanted to improve on. I think that kind of stuff happens in parallel as I'm working, whether I realize it or not. But I think stuff that I've gotten better at is obviously solos. I wrote 2 solos on this record that I'm really, really proud of. I actually wrote one of them with Misha and Mark, and I think like going forward I want to write, and we all like helped each other write our solos, so it's like it's kind of way more challenging, and it helps you think way outside the box when you're able to kind of get the input of 2 other guitar players, and it just makes better compositions. Just like with the songs, the solos, you know, get better when you have more people working on them. I think we're going to go into writing mode pretty soon. We've all been talking about like kind of like what we want our next steps to be in terms of music, and we've actually all agreed that we're going to change some things up, and it remains to be seen of what exactly that will be. But I think that like we're you know, we're ready to get back in the studio, and we're also all working on our side projects in parallel. Like I'm working on a solo record. I'm working on a record with Misha. Spencer's working on stuff. Mark's working on stuff. So everyone's kind of got a million things going, and we want to do Periphery, so it's going to be a very, very music full year, and it's feeling pretty good.